Now the fourth part of this exercise is actually where we're going to share this data, this map, on Esri's portal, ArcGIS Online. And before I get going on that whole process, I want to make sure that I'm currently connected to ArcGIS Online, or the portal that I want to publish to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Project menu, select the Portals section, and I see here that I am connected and signed into arcgis.com, which is ArcGIS Online. So that's good. I'm now going to bail out of this Projects section and return to my map. Now I'm going to click on the Share menu, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell ArcGIS Pro that I want to share this as a web layer. A web layer, not a web map. Now the method behind my madness here, if you want to call it that, is that I prefer sharing layers. In this case, this layer is this map right here, which will have the restaurants feature class in it. It could have other feature classes, that's just fine. And we could collect into all of those at the same time. That's not a problem. I don't like to publish a web map directly because I like to actually make the tweaks and the little bit of customization by hand myself, if you want to call it that, inside ArcGIS Online. So my preference is to publish web layers. And I'm going to click on this little drop down so you can see our options. Our options are publish a web layer or overwrite a web layer. Well, I can't overwrite a web layer because I don't have a restaurant's web layer yet. So my first step is going to be to publish this as a web layer. If at some point in the future I need to come back to this ArcGIS Pro project, which is the source of the web layer, then I could overwrite it. And I won't have version 1, version 2, version 300 out there on my ArcGIS Online. And by the way, they're all going to be consuming credits. So I'm going to be publishing the web layer. Now it's going to start stuff up for me, and a new pane is going to appear in just a minute. Here we go. Now notice that the work that we did just a little while ago in the metadata under the map properties, that was all read in for us. Now isn't that great? So this is the general settings. Go ahead and review it. Take your time reviewing it. And the layer type that we're interested in is definitely, for this application, it definitely needs to be a feature layer type. And that's because we are going to be actively editing and modifying this feature class in the cloud. Normally, I do not like to share this web layer immediately. I can turn on sharing very, very easily on or within ArcGIS Online. So I do not share it right away. That's up to you, really, but I like to double check that I've done everything right, that this thing really is ready for use before I share it with anyone. Next, I'm going to click on the configuration page or configuration section. We have to pay attention to this one, especially right here, this layers, where it talks about this feature layer that we're going to be collecting data into. We need to take a look at what it's going to do and what it's going to be enabled or permitted to do. So I'm going to click on the edit button here. And if we hadn't clicked on that, we would never have noticed that, hey, we've got to enable editing. That's really important. I'm going to enable editing so the user can add, update, and delete features. We could also say, oh, no, they can't add features. They can only update existing features. In some applications, that's going to be good. Or we only want them adding, not changing anything, whatever. Okay. So I'm turning this on. Now, if we're going to be working in a place where we might not have cellular or Wi-Fi connectivity, then we need to make sure that we enable sync. that's where we go into a disconnected editing mode, where the only connection we have is with GPS, so our mobile device knows where we are, but we will not have connectivity with the internet. We won't be able to submit our points while we're out in the field. And if that's the situation you're going to be in, then definitely enable sync. We're not going to be in that situation today, so I'm not turning it on. I also may want to consider allowing people to export this data. I'm not going to do that today, but in some cases you're definitely going to want to turn that on. The other part of the configuration page is to go over here to configure parameters. Certainly take a look at this. Now, this is important for us today because we do have a date field, and it's going to be very handy for us to tell ArcGIS that we are working in the Mountain Time Zone. Now, the reason why Mountain Time floated to the top there is ArcGIS Pro read the time zone from my computer and said, I betcha this is what you want to do. And that's kind of a nice little touch there. We do use daylight savings time in Idaho, so I'm going to tell it to adjust for that based on the date. So that's cool. It has makes less work for me to worry about. So now we have completed 2 of these 3 pages. I'm now going to go to Content and take a look at this, and it says you have the restaurants for real-time GIS map. That's this. And the restaurants feature class. That's that. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to jump back to the general page, and now you gotta analyze. You gotta analyze. Click Analyze, and we do have errors. It says, number 1, layer does not have a feature template set. I was expecting that. The other one is layers data source is not supported. Gee, what's going on? Do you know what's going on? It's the fact that we have Esri base maps included in our map. Now these are services. Map services, web services, image services, whatever. And you cannot publish a service, which is what we're trying to do, using other services. That's not how this thing works. It's sort of like what I say, it's sort of like driving up your own tailpipe. So we need to remove these. Very simple to do. Remove. Right-click. Remove. Now every time I make some good changes to this, I like to go back and save this. Now I'm going to ask it to analyze once again. Very good. Layer does not have a feature template set is our only error. How the heck do I fix this? What do I even need to do? This is also another really, really easy fix. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here to my map. I'm going to click Edit from the menu. And now from the ribbon, and specifically the Features section, I'm going to tell ArcGIS to create features. For what layer it's asking me? Oh, for the restaurants layer. And you know what? That's all I need to do. Really, all I needed to do was to click on the Create Features button over here. Now I'm going to come back to the Share as Web layer, analyze it again. Done. No errors whatsoever. Lastly, I'm going to click Publish. This won't take it very long. All right, it finished. Now, this took just over 2 minutes to complete. Not very long actually at all. Now here's another really nice touch that Esri put into ArcGIS Pro. Once it successfully publishes this, I can click Manage the Web Layer, and it's going to jump me right over to ArcGIS Online.